Hello, colleagues, and welcome to the 5th episode of our video chats with the FIPWiSE Rising Stars. My name is Nilhan Uzman. I'm the lead for education and primary healthcare policies at the International Pharmaceutical Federation at FIP, and I'm the FIP lead for FIP's FIPWiSE initiative. It is a Women in Science and Education initiative that we have launched on 11th of February 2020. So we have celebrated our 2nd anniversary with the launch of the FIPWiSE Rising Stars initiative. And today, as a woman in science and education myself, I am thrilled to be hosting this video chat with 4 of our inspirational and brilliant 2022 FIPWiSE Rising Stars: Ana Begić, Aska, Patel, Farah, Towfic, and Madeeha Malik. FIPWiSE Rising Stars list recognizes exceptional women in pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacy education selected by a FIPWiSE panel based on their achievements, innovations, and significant impacts made. So welcome, Ana, Aska, Farah, and Madeeha. Glad to have you here in this video chat today. I'm sure our audience is going to be as excited as I am now to get to know you better. So let's start with a brief round of introductions, apologies. So I'll make a quick round of introductions, just introduce you to our audience. Ana, I would like to start with you.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. So I'm a pharmacist originally from Croatia, and I used to work in a community pharmacy for 4 years. And currently I work as a senior regulatory manager in regulatory affairs in a pharmaceutical company.
Thank you, Ana. Pleasure to meet you. Aska?
Sure. Thank you, Nilhan. And hello, everyone. My name is Aska Patel. I'm a pharmacist based in Toronto, Canada. And it's a pleasure to be here with this amazing group of women who are truly inspiring, and consider myself very lucky to be here. Just to give you a brief background, I work as a pharmacist, but I also manage my own business, which is focused on digital health tech startups and coaching them and mentoring them so that they can launch their products. And I also run a podcast called Diverse Conversations, where we explore the future of pharmacy with world pharmaceutical leaders. So it's really, I see this as an amazing platform to share those insights and hopefully also learn at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Aska. Pleasure to have you with us today. Farah, can we get to know you as well?
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Farah Towfic. I'm Director of CEO Operations for the United States Pharmacopoeia. I'm based in Rockville, Maryland in the United States. So I've practiced across community pharmacy settings, did residency training with the American Pharmacists Association, and now function as Chief of Staff for the United States Pharmacopoeia. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. Welcome and good morning to our colleagues from that part of the world. So, last but not least, Madeeha.
Thank you so much, Nilhan. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Madeeha Malik, and I'm based in Pakistan. By profession, I'm a pharmacist, and I had been working in academia for the last 15 years and also at administrative position. But then I founded my own company with the name of Syntex Health Project, and now I'm working as the CEO of Syntex Health Project, which is a CRO and a corporate firm.
Thank you, Madeeha. This is, of course, a very brief introduction of all of you in our website at fip.org/FIPWiSE Rising Stars. Our audience will have a great chance to get to know you. We have some nice questions that you have answered about your professional life, personal life. So I'll encourage the audience to also get to know you further. But we have some specific questions for you today. And I would like to start our chat by asking you a few questions, which we ask the same questions to all FIPWiSE Rising Stars. That makes a really nice story because we are looking at the same question from very different perspectives. So I'm sure our audience will enjoy this video chat series. And I will be starting with my first question, and I'll just reverse the order. So Madeeha, I'll start with you with this question. And when I was reading your bio, I also came across that you have been the only female professor of pharmacy practice till date in Pakistan. So you also have some other titles such as this as being the Pathfinder woman in your field. So considering that, what does this mean to you to be recognized as one of the FIPWiSE Rising Stars of 2022?
So Nihal, to be very honest, it has never been easy to, lead the show in any developing country for any female. And the path is not at all easy. You get so much of reluctance and so much of bashing and walk down during this way. So as my journey, I felt the same way. And when I started my career, I used to be very impressed by from FIP and all the wonderful leadership which had been doing so much inspirational work for the pharmacy profession globally. I was so touched when I met Catherine Duggan and Dominic and Ian Bates, and I always used to envy them, and always wanted to follow their footsteps. And I was like, I always used to think that, being from a low-income country and, coming from this background, would I be able to take these small baby steps with so many criticism and negative energy going around all the time in the country? So would I be able to get there, or, be recognized with some international platform someday? And when I just got the email which stated that I was selected for this FIPWiSE Rising Star 22. I was like, it was just like a dream that comes true, because I was getting so many national awards, but it was the first time when I was being recognized as international at an international platform. So this was like, what I think was that facing so much challenges and all that negativity. So it was the best answer, or it was the best recognition which I can show to my counterparts there who had been criticizing so much that as a female, or as, in a very younger age, you cannot achieve so many things. So for that, it was really an amazing experience. And thank you very much, FIP, for this acknowledgement.
Thank you, Madeeha, for being resilient, going after your ambitions. And it's our pleasure to provide you this international platform. I think that was FIPWiSE's first goal. Let's create a community. Let's share with each other, and let's bring everybody together. I don't want to say thanks to COVID, but COVID gave us these virtual engagement opportunities so that we bring more virtual platforms. This is one of them. So thank you for sharing your experience and story with us. And FIP is grateful to have you, as it's amongst the first FIPWiSE Rising Stars in 2022. And I would like to continue with Aska. Aska, what does it mean to you when you heard that you were recognized as one of the 2022 FIPWiSE Rising Stars?
The initial reaction was disbelief. It was truly because, I still feel like I'm in the early phases of my career, and really I do not think I have seen or achieved the milestones that I've set for myself. So to be recognized as an FIP Rising Star, it really felt like a validation. And as Madeeha mentioned, Madeeha, congratulations. I know it's not easy at all to try to be a path breaker when you have so many expectations and so many roadblocks, but at the same time, I can resonate with that from a cultural perspective. But I can, as an immigrant to Canada, I think when you get recognition for the work that you're doing, it in a way it also recognizes the sacrifices your parents made to bring you to this new country and start a new life here. And I think for more than that, it's also motivational and inspirational to not just I think as you mentioned, FIPWiSE, the goal is to create this women empowerment in this community, and I really see this as that, right, where we're coming together, we're learning from each other's experiences, we're sharing them with the hopes that nobody else has to go through them again, and we're alleviating those barriers. And that's what I really it's a huge responsibility on our shoulders, I guess, as inaugural recipients, to kind of now carve the path for the next generation and be like, here, let me at least remove some of the barriers so you don't have to face the ones I did, and then you can kind of carve your own path from then onwards. So I really do think that this was a blessing in disguise, but at the same time I do see this as a responsibility that I'm taking on to hopefully, and I think we're all taking on to carve the path for the younger generation of science and educators.
Thank you, Aska. It's really important that you pass the torch. Of course, Rising Stars is an ongoing process, so we just don't say rise, or it's ongoing. So you have your own career path, and all of you, and you'll continue to inspire others. But you now paved the way for more stars to come, and the good thing is that we have an endless sky, so we have as much as stars we have. So that is really the goal. I think the sky is the limit in this FIPWiSE Rising Star journey. Thank you very much. It was really fun and nice to hear your story. So we'll move on to Farah now.
Thank you very much. Being recognized as an FIP Rising Star was very, I was very surprised, very pleased when the news came. And certainly I was very honored, to have been nominated by one of my mentors, Janelle Sabatka, who was actually the individual who got me very involved in FIP. So it's sort of a full circle that, to have been nominated by her. And I've been, working very hard to engage other student pharmacists, women in particular, to try and get more involved in FIP and engage with the conferences. So, and I consider it an honor to have been recognized amidst these international colleagues in particular, because we know pharmacy around the world is practiced in different ways. But at the end of the day, it's about patients and benefiting those patients, and that's a unifying factor all around. So, Dominique always says, long live pharmacy, long live FIP, because it's that unifying force that we have for the profession. So I'm grateful to FIP for making this possible. It's inspiring for future leaders, especially women leaders. I'm someone who's moved a lot throughout my career, all over the United States. In my childhood, I've moved a lot, from Iraq to Turkey to the United States, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, like all around. And, those changes, weren't easy. And so I think it's inspiring, and I want to be able to set that example for people that you can have all of these different changes that happen in a, chaotic life, and you could be an FIP Rising Star, and you could, learn and adapt and be agile along the way. And those are, some lessons that I'm sure we'll get into later on in the interview. So I'm deeply grateful. I'm deeply honored, and, congratulations to my colleagues as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. How nice that you mentioned you were nominated by your mentor. So that is also a really nice, good practice and example that we would like to see further and further. And I think this FIPWiSE and initiative in general and the Rising Stars will boost that type of initiative. So why don't I think about who would be my Rising Star? So we'll be able to see this kind of initiatives. Last but not least, Ana, I'd like to ask the same question to you. How was it for you when you learned that you were recognized as the FIPWiSE Rising Stars of 2022?
Thank you. I was very happy. It felt incredible. I was secretly hoping for it, but I wasn't expecting it. It was a long way from a community pharmacist in a relatively small country, Croatia, to being a UK professional in regulatory affairs. So there were so many insecurities, as I'm sure you've all experienced it, and so many questions. What am I doing? Is this right? Does this even make sense? So having your efforts recognized by people outside of your day-to-day work, by outside people that are not the closest to you, by experts in their fields, it just feels incredible. It feels like it's a validation of your work, of all the energy that you put in, because I'm sure we all do a lot of things outside our main work. So yeah, it's an amazing validation of the time and energy, and it really encouraged me. It still does. It encourages you to continue on the journey forward, to work harder for your patients and to be better in what you do. So yeah, I was very happy. It just gives you a sense of being heard and seen, and that what you are doing is right, and to pushes you to work harder and better. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ana. When I was listening to you, I was just going to, you read my mind. I was just going to say how great that this initiative have emerged, because feeling heard, feeling seen is, I think, psychology 101. We all need this, and in our personal lives, also in professional lives, because we all have ambitions and we all have purpose, and we are healthcare professionals, so we have patients in our purpose. So being recognized is important, and I'm glad that this recognition give you that type of validation, that you have been seen and heard. That is really sincere that you shared with us. Thank you very much. So I'll move on with my next question, and in my next question I will be asking your proudest and also your most challenging moments in your career, which have brought you where you are now. You gave me some sneak peeks already in our earlier conversation, and now about how you felt about being selected as FIPWiSE Rising Stars. So let's get into depth a little bit about your proudest and challenging moments. I'll be reversing the order, and I'll start with Farah now.
Thank you, Nilhan. So I would say one of my proudest moments, in the last, since the pandemic began, was coming together. In the United States, I helped collaborate with the U.S. government around the COVID-19 response, and particularly rolling out the vaccines so that we can get as many shots to as many arms as quickly, as safely as possible. So, for the United States Pharmacopoeia, we brought together an expert committee, a committee of independent experts in their field, to help create a toolkit that supports getting vaccines out efficiently, safely, ensuring their quality, very important for the United States Pharmacopoeia, so that we can get more patients vaccinated and help accelerate the return to normal, so to speak. And so, the challenge in that came because, this came together in the manner of weeks. So it was by the time that the vaccines came out, a matter of how do we get them to remote areas, all across the country. And then, beyond that, the world. So how do we ensure that they're stored properly? How do we ensure, whether you can pre-draw them into a syringe, how long can you do that, as we were trying to efficiently get folks vaccinated? So it's one of my proudest moments, because over the course of, 3 weeks, we were able to get this toolkit published. And then it was translated to multiple languages. We collaborated with FIP to help get it translated to multiple languages. And so it was incredibly challenging. I lost track of all time as everything got reprioritized towards, getting these vaccines out. But I'm so proud of people coming together, no boundaries, so to speak. I think earlier, Nilhan, you alluded to the fact that the pandemic sort of created this borderless opportunity to get work done very quickly. And so that was very, very proud for me. It tapped into my work as a community pharmacist. I knew what it took to get vaccines out. Pharmacists have been vaccinating for years, have been very good at it in getting as many folks vaccinated. So I was able to draw on those insights, collaborate with that team, and get this out to people. So I'm so proud. It was definitely a challenge, but one that I have learned from. And I'm just very grateful to the lessons that came from there. And of course, the ability to get folks vaccinated. I was able to test it out myself here through the Maryland Medical Reserves. We were vaccinating people across Six Flags, giant theme park. We were just wherever people could get to was where we were doing the vaccine. So it was great to be able to test out those toolkits and strategies. So I'm so proud of that work.
Excellent. You possibly gave lots of people hope and their life back. So I think there's so many outcomes that you're probably not aware of after your hard work. And I think it came with a challenge, but it's a nice story that your most challenging moment in the end turned out to be your proudest moment. So this is a really nice conversion of the story. So thanks for sharing. And congratulations for this amazing achievement. We are also proud of you. Thank you. So I'll go to Madeeha and ask about her proudest and challenging moments in her career.
So if to talk about the most challenging moment in my career, in my last previous job, I was pushed to that point that one day I decided that, I cannot take it anymore. And I really want to quit, and I really want something start of my own, to become my own boss. And I really wanted to work with some like-minded people and wanted to be the boss of so many people who, the boss I dreamt of, to work with. So when I thought of this, starting my own initiative or my own company, and at that time nobody was there to support me except one girl, who was my mentee, and I must acknowledge her, Aisha Hashmi, because she has she has a diverse role in pushing me to that point that I believed in myself, and I said, okay, I can do it. So because that was a total turning point in my career. I was just leaving you can say the career which I dreamt of, which I worked so hard for, like in academia, like for the last 15 years, and I was a brand in it. And I just wanted to start something new. So, and I didn't have that experience, the right tools and the skills, and no support, no finances, and not that much capital. But I just had Aisha at that time. Even my family did not believe me, and then everybody was of this view that why you want to become an entrepreneur? You are just wasting your time, and I don't know how you are going to do it. But we just stand to this analogy. No, we have to do this. So I just founded my own company with the name Syntax Health Project, which is basically a CRO, the first female pharmacist-led CRO in Pakistan. And then the turning point came, and we won two very big grants from international organization, and we started our trials in 2022 in Pakistan. So that was the biggest, achievement for a very nascent organization in just 2 years time period. And then I just met a group, Europol, which is one of the best leading research groups of the world who work on health valued assets. So we just won the trial and the funding from then, and now we are working on the project for developing health valued assets for the population of Pakistan for the first time on the preferences of population, and these data sets will actually help Pakistan to basically help in budget allocation on their healthcare infrastructure, and to allocate based on their forecast, all their budget planning according to the disease and mortality rate. So this was something very huge for first time for a developing country to come up. And then there is a new concept which has been introduced in around the world, that is HTA, Health Technology Assessment. So now Pakistan, after development of these data sets, Pakistan would also be able to incorporate and do the capacity building for HTA, and then they can work on technology initiatives in Pakistan. And then I think one of the healthcare, because we come from a very poor country who has a very not a very resilient healthcare infrastructure, and people, only 1% of the total healthcare spending is allocated to health, of the budget is allocated to health in our country. So this is something very big. If we are able to do this, then we can forecast, we can save, and we can give access to a lot of population towards the medicines and towards healthcare services. And this was something big, but I think that I'm proud of. And beside this, in just 2 years time period, I just recently received the first Women Business Excellence Award. So again, I was the first female pharmacist in Pakistan to receive this first Women Entrepreneur Award by Islamabad Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry from the President of Pakistan. So that was the turning moment in my life, because no one to support you except one person in your life, and you started your journey, and just in 2 years time period, God was so, I must say that I'm very humble that it's like God gave me this courage to move on this path, and finally I was able to achieve this. So I think these two moments were the most proudest I can claim of as a female pharmacist from Pakistan.
Thank you. This is a very inspiring story. Being first to something, but it's not something, it's a great cause. It comes with also response. I'm sure Pakistani women or men, I think doesn't matter, but generally women also considering distinct challenges we have in our some of our countries. You have paved the way and became a pathfinder in your field by taking up these challenges, and I understand how difficult it might feel for you just to be alone in a path, but then it leads to that was your path. You haven't been following anyone's, and now that many will follow your path. So thank you for being the pathfinder. I think I'm sure many women in your field, students, pharmacy students, or even people might have considered becoming pharmacists, pharmaceutical scientists, just because of your story, and that you also opened up opportunities for people, helped patients. So this is ticking many boxes, I think, for your ambition. So thanks for taking up that challenge, I think. Thanks, Madeeha, and congratulations, big congratulations. Very interesting story. I'm deeply impressed and excited about it, but more stories are coming, so I'll continue with Ana now about her proudest and challenging moments.
That was so inspirational. Thank you, Madeeha, and Farah as well. Well, the most proudest and I guess what was the groundbreaking point for me and my career was the move from Croatia to UK. So I was working in a pharmacy, in community pharmacy in Croatia for 4 years. And as much as I loved it, I really enjoyed working with patients, no matter how challenging they or the communication or everyday life can be. But I needed a new challenge. I was trying to move from community pharmacy to maybe industry. It was very difficult. I wasn't successful. So at one point, that became my dream to work in the European Medicines Agency, which was at that time in London. And I have applied for the traineeship program, and I was accepted after a few rounds of interviews. And that's when everything changed for me, I guess. So I was accepted in the procedure management department in human medicines evaluation, which would kind of be equal to regulatory affairs that I do now today. And at that point, I had no idea what I was doing. And even the move, people were not supportive. Not everyone was supportive of my decision. Even the people the closest people to me were questioning my decisions. So are you really now, I mean, you're not really in a trainee age. Are you really leaving your family, your friends, your great life here, great job? And are you leaving all this to be an intern, a trainee in a new country, far away from everything and everyone? So yeah, but honestly, I wasn't questioning the decision at all, no matter the comments. And I kind of knew that this is going to be my path, although I'm telling you, I had no idea what regulatory affairs is or where am I going or what am I going to do. But I felt that it was a good decision. And that's when I started working in the core business of European Medicines Agency. That's where I realized that I'm actually through regulatory affairs, I'm working for every patient in Europe, and made me realize the importance and the huge impact that regulatory affair has, the global impact. And while I was working in a pharmacy, I had that feeling on everyday basis. You help a patient, they come back, they thank you, or they thank you at the same moment, and you feel really accomplished and fulfilled that you made a change right there on the spot. But with regulatory affairs, you make a change on a much bigger scale. It's a global change, but you don't see it every day, and it kind of sometimes make things more difficult. But yeah, all in all, like bringing new medicines to patients, especially in the diseases in the areas where we still don't have any medicines to offer to our patients, it feels incredible. So yeah, I would select that one, I guess. That was because yeah, there was a huge number of applicants, and that's something that I keep reminding myself when I forget that how I got here, and I have to remind myself that I was selected among a huge number of applicants, and I was given this opportunity, and just gives me the sense to not fail the patients and people who have selected me to do this. So.
Thank you, Ana. Congratulations. I was empathizing a lot with your story, because I was also a pharmacist who changed her country to pursue some career steps, and we have same stories amongst our group and even further in the FIPWiSE group. And congratulations personally. I mean, we are all had the chance to benefit from the European Medicines Agency's regulatory processes as sometimes patients, but also as pharmacists, so in both ways. So we are grateful and thank you. And also how ambitious and passionate you could have been, that you have accepted in a traineeship program where you claim that you didn't know anything, but you probably didn't know how to do that particular job. You were trained to do that as a pharmacist, but it's a big challenge to change the career step, change the country at the same time. Personally, I've been through that and I found it quite challenging. So congratulations. And I'm sure, I think this kind of experiences makes us all stronger. And when you said you remind yourself of how you get here, I think that is very powerful. And so it's a personal instinct. Generally, even your closest one don't remind you of this kind of things. So it's always good to self-motivation up. And this is one of the fact that I'm sure everybody on this call, everybody who is going to be watching this, should remind themselves of what kind of challenges they have overtaken to come to that moment. So thank you for sharing this powerful story. So move on to Aska. I'm really excited to hear her story.
Thank you, Nilhan. And first of all, thank you so much, Madeeha, Ana, and Farah, for sharing your stories, because I know it's difficult to be vulnerable sometimes and, kind of share our challenges. But as Nilhan mentioned, and this was a perfect segue, it kind of just worked out really well, because I agree with you, Nilhan, like, motivation when you're at your lowest is sometimes the hardest thing you can ever do for yourself, is to find that and, build that strength within to kind of rise up and take on the challenge. And I think that was, my most challenging aspect of my career was, learning that this is a journey that's not giving me the professional satisfaction that I want. But as pharmacists, and, here in Canada, pharmacy is a very well paid position. So the comfort of leaving that and doing something that's kind of, you're not really sure whether it's going to fly or not. It can make you ask questions, like Ana mentioned, like, when she was deciding to choose between going to the UK, it was similar, like, when you were deciding, is this the right decision? Am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? So I think that was the most challenging thing of my journey, was to kind of understand that this was not giving me the satisfaction, but also at the same time recognizing that following a traditional path does not always work out for everyone. When I was in pharmacy school, I always saw myself as a community pharmacist. I was like, that's it. Like, I have nothing else to do. Like, that's going to be my dream job. Like, I'm going to open a store, and that's my career, retiring, whatever, at that point. Little did I know life had other plans for me. But, this is being open for and allowing life to happen, I think, is also very important. And that's something I have learned from my own journey is, so right at the time of the pandemic started, I was, grieving the loss of my grandmother, who was my inspiration. And while all that was happening, my professional life was falling apart, in that I was not seeking the professional satisfaction. And I think something within me was just not happy with the way life was. And I was deciding, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I think at that point, I felt like my old self was breaking down to allow my new self, which was my truest identity that I can identify myself with, which was, somebody who likes to challenge status quo, somebody who is willing to talk about, what my opinions are, or is comfortable at least sharing those opinions on a platform, and not being reserved about it, because that was not the person I was in the past. And so to recognize that, I think it required a lot of self-discovery, self-growth. And I think that kind of paved the way, because at the start of the pandemic, I started advocating for pharmacists to provide COVID-19 testing in community pharmacy. It was not something the profession, really took in stride, and for obvious reasons, like, community pharmacy especially is overwhelmed with a lot of different tasks. At least here in Canada, the staffing is very limited. We don't have enough support staff to support the pharmacists in doing all these different activities. So now all of a sudden you're asking them to do one more thing, especially during pandemic, when there were restrictions in terms of how many people could actually be in a pharmacy, like in terms of employees. How do you even do that? So I think that, and that led me to my proudest moment, and it was not even something that I had planned for. It was just kind of happened, but it was, I pretty much funded an independent research study just to, kind of create the preliminary evidence around exploring pharmacists' perceptions and opinions in community pharmacy to implementing COVID-19 testing. And I was very happy when FIP's virtual conference that year in 2020, the research was published as an abstract, which it was a small study, but at the same time, I felt like this was early evidence we all needed, because when I did the literature search to kind of figure out what's the evidence base for, exploring COVID-19 testing in community pharmacy and just the implementation, there was only one research study done out in Jordan in the entire world. So we did not have a lot of evidence to start off with. And here we were trying to advocate for something when we don't even know how it's being done. That led to creating some recommendations, which I'm very happy that a couple of major chains here in Canada actually implemented, which meant that now community pharmacies had pharmacists just for COVID-19 testing immunization. So you were not running between the dispensary and the clinic in terms of giving the vaccinations. And from a mental perspective, a mental health perspective, that was a huge blessing for community pharmacy, because, you're not now worried about, okay, am I stopping something to go and now attend to this patient that needs a vaccination or a test, and I need to do a whole slew of things, infection control. So I think, I kind of take bits and pieces from each of the three rising stars that are here with me, because I feel like we all shared that common theme of, we were all pushed into this uncomfortable zone where we were not comfortable with what was happening, and we decided to do something. And I always say this to my students: be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that's where the answer lies to your problem. Embrace that, and it will lead you to where you need to go next. But yeah, those were my proudest and most challenging moments.
Thank you, Aska. You again read my mind, that magic happens out of our comfort zone, but also being uncomfortable with something are for people who has an action, because or when you become aware of something, if you don't take any action on it, either you take an action or you just start not being uncomfortable about it, because there is nothing you can do. So that's an attitude. And sometimes, of course, we have the opportunities, right times arrives, etc. So I think when maybe out of all of your stories, if I can say one thing as a summary of after listening to is, if somebody becomes uncomfortable, if a woman in science and education or anybody who's watching this becomes uncomfortable, and I think you should listen to that instinct. If it's not the right time, it's going to come. There is a reason why you become uncomfortable, and it's really nice to see this kind of stories, because then you feel courage to say, okay, I can change something, because change could be good. I'm sure you might have failed moments for yourself as well. The path is not always, the trajectory is not always inclining, but then the end result is important. So very well done to all of you, and for your great achievements, for patients, for our society, for our profession. I'm great, thankful as a pharmacist, I think, for all of your stories. So When I was listening to your stories, this leads me to my third question to all of you. There are not so many yous in our profession, unfortunately, for some reasons, for many reasons, and gender inequities is one of them. There are some blockages, there are some issues that we need to overcome. And there are also some reasons, of course, personal reasons that you have been pathfinders, but also what about the opportunities? Can we have more women like you achieving these great results for patients, for our profession? I think one of the things that we need to address is gender inequities in science and education, particularly. These exist, and I'm sure you faced. When Madeeha says a couple of times you have been the first female of the CEO of a CRO company, of a professor of pharmacy practice, or when, for example, Ana said you were discouraged to pursue your dreams. There are some reasons behind this, and some of them are linked to gender inequities. And I wanted to ask for your thoughts. What could success look like, or an ideal world look like, when we achieve gender equity in your field? And what could be the results? So if we have more of yous in our profession, how could it look like? So just wanted to do some imagination for all of you, and then I'm sure we can inspire each other and take action, because we love being uncomfortable about things and then take action. So let's hope this would encourage us and all of our listeners. So I'll first start with Ana, and I wanted to ask you what would change if we achieve gender equity in your field, and what would it lead to as a result?
Yeah, the gender equity, it remains a persistent challenge within the biotechnology and pharmaceutical industry. Only I've read somewhere recently that female CEOs account for less than 10% of leaders in these companies, and it's disheartening to hear this, that this issue still needs attention. And I know there is a goal to reach the gender parity, but I don't see it happening anytime soon with these numbers being so low. And the fact that women remain so poorly presented in this industry is really devastating. I know that there is no quick fix to bridge this gap, but as you said, we need the greater awareness and understanding of the fundamental underlying issues. How did this happen? I'm not sure, but we need more awareness of, and we need to be louder about it. I know that women have become, women have raised their voices about that, but we still need to be louder, even louder. I know that I have a feeling that there are still no solid actions to fix these issues. But what we can do, and we on this call, and I believe it's important that we support our fellow female colleagues, and it's to grow the confidence of future female scientists and pharmacists. It's crucial, and it requires visible actions to be taken on several different levels. And we start from home and school, and we continuing all the way up to the board seats. But it's really important that what we're doing now, it's really important that we celebrate the success of female leaders, and that we are loud about it. It has to be demonstrable and celebrated. Only when women rise to their full potential and believe that we can break the traditional norm, that's when the change will start happening. In this case, what I'm doing currently, and it's just a small baby step, but I've recently become a STEM ambassador within my workplace, and I believe everyone can do this in their communities, and I'm sure you are already all doing this, since you're all very inspirational, by supporting our colleagues, and particularly female colleagues. And yeah, this is what I've been doing recently to just, encourage young females to go into STEM, to go into pharmacy, to make their way through it, and yeah, just to build the confidence within them while they're younger and still looking for their way in the industry.
Thank you, Ana. Charity starts at home. I think we should start with ourselves. First, what actions we can do, and then our actions lead to some evidence that some of things has to change, and these things work actually, give more opportunities, change the disparities. And I think then our bit by bit and individual actions, organizations like FIP or WHO, or there's Women in Global Health, and this kind of global organizations, we are committed to identify these every bit of evidence that can lead to systematic change. So that's, I think, what global organizations are tasked with, and also professional organizations at country level. I would like to thank you for creating this useful evidence and being the voice. These will take us to the hopefully gender equity state that we would like to achieve, one step at a time. And Aska, I would like to continue with you, and you have these diverse conversations podcasts that you are leading, and you probably encountered with very different backgrounds, male and female, from the challenges you have heard. I'm sure you also listened some solutions. You also have your own solutions as well. I think you observed very different backgrounds in your field as well. What would change if we achieve gender equity, I think, in our field, in your field, entrepreneurship and pharmacy entrepreneurship? I think it's a different field. And yes. What would it lead to? You probably collected lots of evidence. I'm really curious to hear from you.
Yes, I'm definitely in the process of collecting evidence. So that's one thing we need to change, is there needs to be more data collection that needs to happen, especially in digital tech space. We do not have, when we're looking for founders data, when we're looking for data on board of directors or co-founders, there is still, it's still, because it's such not a new thing, but it's still fairly new. We do not have enough data to kind of support. But one interesting statistic, and it's funny how you mentioned, Nilhan, the two fields that I was actually wanting to focus on was entrepreneurship in general, but also pharmacy entrepreneurship. And, when I look at the digital health tech entrepreneurship and when I look at pharmacy entrepreneurship, the data so far is very similar. In Canada, in community pharmacy, 70% of the profession, not even just community pharmacy, but pharmacy in general, 70% of the profession is women. Women make up 70% of Canadian pharmacists, yet only 30% are in leadership or ownership positions. So they actually own a store or are in some sort of a leadership position. When I look at the digital health tech space, I'm surprised that the statistics are still very similar. Only 37% of new startups will have at least one director who is a woman, who identifies as a woman. And when I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is such an interesting statistic, because it seems like the challenges are still there, which are very similar. And I think one of the things that we need to do better is women are over mentored in that, we are being told what to do or how to do better, or, how to get things done right or how to break barriers. But we are not necessarily being provided the tools or the opportunities to actually implement, or the actions that we need to make. And I think that's where the difference lies, is, I think the society and the culture is telling us, here, I'll give you mentorship, I'll give you coaching, I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you. But it's, telling you to do something is very different than you actually doing something. And I think that's the gap we need to bridge, really, is, how do we have women take more actions towards their goals, and, hearing the stories of the rising stars here, obviously we know like it was such a difficult step to overcome, like, whatever, be it the familial pressure or be it the cultural pressures, or sometimes it's just your own personal pressures. In my own journey was my own personal, belief of myself that was stopping me from even like, taking the next step. And I think that's where we need to do better, is presenting women with opportunities. And I think having these kind of conversations, I think builds that community and builds that resource that, will allow women from the science and education industry to really come together to kind of share, but also at the same time, hopefully identify opportunities to collaborate together. I think that's one thing also we need to do better as women is, work together. If you're having something, if a project aligns with somebody else's work, why not join hands? And at least, you could be able to bring your product in sooner rather than kind of working on by yourself. So that's definitely one thing that I think we need to, and this is something this is what I've been hearing. And I was at a conference recently and I could not take away this thought process that women are over mentored. And I was like, that is so true. We always get told what to do or how we can become better leaders, but it's like, how do we actually do that is what we like, where is the action that leads to that change? Change is only achievable if we take action in that direction. If we don't, then, we're all just living in this utopian imaginary world where everything sounds perfect on paper, but it does not necessarily reflect the reality that we are part of. I think I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Catherine Duggan on my podcast. And it was incredible, the journey that she has had. But I think the one thing that I picked up from her journey, and we talked about this on the podcast as well, is the resilience and, being fearless in asking questions that nobody else is asking. And I think sometimes we as women, we tend to be like, I don't know if I ask this question, what the other person would think about me, or, do they think I'm overstepping? We do have those. And again, that's conditioning. That's years and years of conditioning as a society that has happened. So we need to slowly peel that off. It'll take some time, but I'm confident that with the way we are going, if we continue to provide all the necessary opportunities and supports, we will, lead into that world where there will be equity. And, it would be, and the other thing, just one last comment, is around equal pay. So in pharmacy, again, this is more so for the pharmacy profession here in Canada, where women and men do not get paid equally, which is a problem, because if 70% of the profession is women, we're really underpaying the profession by not establishing that equal pay. I'm happy to know that the associations here are doing some work at it, but I think the reality would only be that if that pay barrier is alleviated, then only we'll know for sure that work has actually been completed. So I think data collection, equal pay, and equal opportunities is what I think we need to do.
Thank you, Aska. I think all of you are in some sort of leadership positions where you are, and I think creating safe spaces and creating an equitable platforms for pharmacists, pharmaceutical scientists, or even anyone from in different multidisciplinary backgrounds. I think if we try to create these spaces for in our own workplaces, that's still a good progress. We can change something. And then because when you're in such a platform like FIPWiSE or all the other platforms that you're on, you have a privilege. Of course, you haven't been taken there by somebody. You worked hard for it. But then when you're in a position, you get also the responsibility of to be the decision maker, and you have the power to change something. So why not using our privileges and powers to make changes? So I think using those for those privileges, powers for something good, for a good cause, being equitable to men and women. But we have some issues in gender inequities, and then we have gaps to close. So I think by this ambition and passion, we can all make some changes. So thank you very much for pointing that out. So I'll hear from Madeeha, from her thoughts. I'm sure we get to hear. I wanted to have you as the last person, because you have been you have identified yourself in some areas as the first So I'm sure you have, from your own experience, have much to tell us. So I'm looking forward to hear your thoughts, Madeeha.
Thank you, Nilhan. I think like if I talk about Pakistan, a country with a population of 230 million people, where 52% of the population are female. And we only have like 1% of the women entrepreneur, and 70% of the pharmacy schools, the students are female students, like we are getting in. And if we see the representation at the leadership level, it's like less than 5%. So you see that I don't think that I'm surprised at how this country is basically, planning for its future. And when I just started, working with the gender group. So I just did a scoping review, and I looked at the SDGs for gender equity at 5, and I was shocked to see that Pakistan has not even set its national targets for achieving SDG 5 for the next 5 years or 10 years. And then when I looked at the gender gap index, global gender gap index report, Pakistan ranks like at 153 out of 156 countries. So you see, I think it should, whatever change which we like to bring into any community, it always trickle down from the top. Whatever you start doing at the bottom, although it just add values to different things, but even if the top level is not very much serious in acquiring or bridging that gender gap, we cannot do much in our own capacities. So first, I need to think that all the countries need to look at their and revise and revamp their SDG plan for gender equity, especially for gender equity 5. And then we have a lot of, like, we got 80 gender specific indicators in the SDGs, like, proposed by UN Women. So we need to jot down a roadmap how we can acquire or how we can attain those targets which are being set, in the local, befitting into the local context for every country. So that's the point where we need to start from. So I think like that's like in my view, in my perspective, it's like from the top. And then if we talk about like, at our individual level, what I see is that even if I am a very, empowered woman and everything, but I do not know about my rights. I really do not know that where to complain if I get, harassed at the workplace, or if I really want to, raise any voice. And then we are the one, I think, who are stopping other women to even, come forward and, build that case. And we all say, or we are always like, okay, don't create that drama, or don't create that scene, or, don't come forward, what people will think. So most of the time, 90% of even the empowered women like us, they do not come forward because they don't want to, get noticed, or they do not want to get heard. They don't want to come in the limelight. They do not want to face all the criticism which has been coming from the society. And that's how, in so many cases, all these, cases goes unreported, and we do not come forward to raise our voice. So I think the next step which should be done is a very strong advocacy campaign through which we need to promote our women, that what are the forums, what are their rights. I just want to know, there's a difference between female activism and gender equity. And in countries like, low income countries like Pakistan, and like, for instance, India, and, all those who are sharing a common cultural background, we just, tend to mix all these two terms so frequently. And then the idea of that gender equity get lost between, all this intermixing. So we need to define these terminologies. We need to have strong advocacy campaigns where our females should be knowing that what are their rights. There should be proper workplace harassment policies, and all the females should be aware of them. Even if you see the ceiling effects, like Aska said that, the gap in the gender pay system. How many of us sit together and talk about these issues? Or how many of us know that where we need to go and, report such kind of issues? We never do that because we do not face so frequently these issues in our daily routines, or maybe when we come across some, still we do not want to come forward because because we're always thinking that what people will think, what society will say. So we need to break down this stereotype that what society will think or what people will think. I think we should stand what is right, and that's more important than thinking what people will think. So I think the second step should be a strong advocacy campaign for all those females, for knowing their rights, for their equity, and the forums where they can go and find help and support from. And third most important thing which I see is that even a very educated men in our countries, they do like the idea of empowered women, but in reality, when it comes to dealing with these empowered women, somehow they fail in the process. Even they are not ready. Even you see it our family in our families. I don't think like less than 1% of the men would like to have. They do not know how to tackle these empowered women. So we need to also have a very strong campaign for the men also, and they need to learn that how, even if they love the idea of empowered women, then how they have to support and tackle those empowered women if they really want to achieve this gender equity gap in the coming years. So we have to achieve this together. We cannot do it individually. We as just females cannot have this idea of promoting gender equity just at our individual level. So we need support from these men too. So I think there should be also some training or mentoring for these men, how to handle these empowered women, how to support them in a way to achieve or pursue the dreams which they would like to have. And last but not the least, I think as like Aksha mentioned, that we really need to generate evidence-based data, because when we will not get that evidence-based data, that how many females are working at managerial level, or how many females are just came into their profession, they continue with their professional career, and so many other things, the barriers and so many qualitative studies, so we would not be able to design the right appropriate intervention to address those issues. So I think that in most of the countries, the biggest challenge is the lack of evidence-based data. And when we do not have data, we would not be able to plan the right interventions. So I think with setting the national targets for our SDG attainment for gender equity, with the right advocacy campaign for educating the female about their rights, with the right evidence-based data generation, and with mentoring the men how to support empower women, we can achieve a gender equity based society where all of us would be heading towards a common goal for a betterment of any country.
Thank you, Madeeha. I wish I can vote you as a president in Pakistan. These the steps and the points you raised about data advocacy and having men as allies just are very aligned with FIP's agenda on Fifth Development Goal number 10, equity and equality. We have set a global target. This is for pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences, of course, based on UN SDGs. We are developing indicators, and of course, having male allies always with us, and education and awareness is critical, because this is a systematic issue. It's a political issue. At individual level, yes, we are all empowered. We can make changes into our circle of influence as big as it can get as we move towards in the leadership positions. But the systematic issues always remain. We make the pharmacy network, the global network, our universities, academics, educators, individual pharmacists, professional organizations, WHO, and organizations in our network accountable by setting a goal for pharmacy. And we set a goal for pharmacy, but how we are following up that goal is that we provide resources, we provide indicators, examples, policy cases. So it is really important that countries, regional groupings take ownership so that we can achieve systematic changes. One of the example I can give is, for example, you said you didn't know where you can report if you face any negative experience in your workplace. Last year, we worked and developed on a FIPWiSE Positive Practice Environments Toolkit. It was based on the World Health Professions Alliance Positive Practice Environments campaign. So we have looked into the lens of science and education, women in science and education, and develop this toolkit as a resource so that universities particularly or research institutions, professional organizations can take this up, or even individuals can apply and learn and create awareness for themselves so that they know when to speak up, how to speak up, what to request in the context of professional development or reporting harassment and these unfavorable conditions. So we'll think, I think I heard you as someone work for FIP, and I hope everybody will get this call to action so that together we can achieve the systematic change. Those are all systematic related issues, I think, which leads to gender inequities. Thank you very much for owning the gender inequity problem and providing your solutions. I hope we can work towards it hand in hand. We have created this network, of course, to celebrate you, but we need the action. We need people to support our action. So we rely on you. We are confiding in you. So let's work on this together through the years to come. And speaking about years to come, I'm really excited to hear about what does your next 5 to 10 years look like. So what's cooking, what's coming, what's your ambition, where are you going to rise to in the next years? So I'm really excited to hear about that in your field, or do you have some plans to move to a different fields? So these are all really excited news that, of course, to hear from you as much as you can share with us. So I'll first start with Farah and project us how your next years look like. Where are you trying to achieve to right now?
Thank you, Nilhan. If I could just add something quick about the gender equity topic, just one reflection I had on that was that, during the pandemic, women globally account for 47% of the workforce. And during the pandemic, nearly, 1 in 4 women left the workforce. In the US, it was about 2.1 million women who left the workforce during the pandemic, and they haven't been back at that same rate. So one thought I had was, around evaluating applications, understanding that there may have been a gap during that time period, being accommodating for that. It goes with the themes of what's been shared as far as, being an ally, whether you're evaluating applications, whether our, colleagues, partners who step in to help, bridge that gap, especially in childcare. That was a main reason many women left the workforce. So I just wanted to add that to what's been shared by my colleagues as well. And then as far as the next 5 to 10 years, so, for me, I have evolved through practicing pharmacy in different ways. From the one standpoint, you're in direct patient care. And then, as Ana mentioned earlier, you sort of have that satisfaction of, I helped this patient. They understand how to use their diabetes medications. I did that, Whereas as you get into, regulatory in your example, or in associations, or in, nonprofits, you don't have that same direct touch to the patient. So for example, for me, at USP, the mission is to help expand the supply of quality medicines around the world. So it's a matter of having assurance that what's on the label for the medicine is really what's in the bottle. So you set those quality standards, companies use it, industry uses it to test and make sure that the medicines are meeting that quality standards. But ultimately, it indirectly touches the patient. I'm not directly working with the patient, but I can, through supporting the CEO's voice, ensure that people know that there are quality standards out there. That's how medicines are doing what they're intended to do ultimately for the patient, so that other pharmacists can trust the fact that the medicine that they're giving patients will do what is intended. Nothing is more frustrating than, the amount of substandard and falsified medicines that are out there. That's something that matters deeply to me. I was born in Baghdad in Iraq. I know that access to medicine is not consistent all around the world. I've seen it, as I've moved from place to place. And we know how connected the world is. It's very easy to have, a medicine that's substandard and falsified in one part of the world can get to the other part of the world very quickly. So for me, in my next 5 to 10 years, I want to continue to help practitioners, help industry to know to trust the quality of the medicine. So I want to have that global voice. That's very important to me, given my international background. I want to be in an organization that helps advance that global voice for quality medicines, because I always see the benefit of having a ability to interface internationally, have that platform for pharmacy, learn how pharmacy is practiced in different areas, and identify where we could make a difference. During the pandemic response, over the course of 3 weeks, we could get these toolkits out to folks so that we can get people vaccinated. Imagine what we can do, with more time, more dedication. So I'm setting pretty high aspirations for the next 5 to 10 years to really expand that global voice when it comes to quality medicines. I hope to continue to be doing that during that time period and help patients indirectly, through practitioners and industry to understand the quality of the medicines that they're using. So I look forward to practicing pharmacy in that way. Thanks, Nilhan.
Thanks, Farah. It sounds very exciting, and I can sense the excitement on how you are telling and imagining your next 5 to 10 years. So I taken that your dreams will eventually unfold, just to see your excitement on how you're dreaming about this. So thank you for putting the patients in the center of your work through quality standards. And you link to something that you personally faced in your previous times, and that's also very valuable because that shows your purpose greatly. Thank you. Ana, what about you?
Thank you. Thinking about future, it can be really overwhelming, I'm sure, for all of us, since we all have such big goals and we all want to do so many things. I think it's important to have the vision and the final goal in your mind, but of course to break it into more achievable, smaller goals to not get overwhelmed. I believe I will continue working in regulatory affairs. It's a rapidly changing area. It's very, very exciting. I want to gain even more experience and knowledge in research and development. And regulatory affairs, it plays a crucial role in the pharmaceutical industry, especially during the drug development, which is a lengthy, complex, and very costly process. And being involved in all phases of development, it's something that is very, very interesting to me. And seeing the final results, be it a big change to existing medicine or bringing a new medicine, it's an extremely rewarding feeling. So I definitely see myself developing, expanding in the area of regulatory affairs. What I want to see in this area is I want to see more innovative medicines and them reaching patients much faster than they are now. I want to see patients receiving their much needed therapies sooner, because as much as regulations are of course inevitable and required, regulators sometimes these rules tend to impose too great a burden to companies and to slow down the innovation. And I think what we really need to work on bringing new medicines to patients faster, of course keeping the highest standards of the quality, safety, and efficacy of medicines in mind. That's one area, and something that I will certainly continue doing is advocating for rare disease patients. Something I'm very passionate about, rare diseases and rare disease patients community. these patients, unfortunately, sometimes often tend to be left behind because as European Union defines the rare diseases as conditions that affect fewer than 1 in 2,000 people within the general, less than 1 in 2,000 people within the general population. Majority of these patients have no effective treatment, and on average, it takes more than 4 years to receive an accurate diagnosis. And that's something that really makes me sad and also makes me want to even do more in this area. I really want, I feel that I can add this patient voice, and I really want to continue advocating for every rare disease patient in the world. So yeah, something.
Thank you, Ana.
To think about, yeah.
Universal health coverage is something that FIP is trying to strive to. WHO, I mean, leaving no one behind, giving health for all. It's, I think, a motto that is dear to all of our hearts, and thank you for bodying it and putting this as a goal to yourself. This is really important, and it just reminds me how much we contribute to health for all, and how compassionate we are towards our societies when we think we don't want to leave anybody behind. Rare disease is one of them. Access to medicines, breaking the boundaries in the access to medicines are really important parts of our field. So thank you for being so ambitious about that. I do hope we will all achieve this together. So I'll hear from Madeeha now.
So on a lighter note, as an emerging entrepreneur, I would like to see myself as a billionaire over the next 5 to 10 years. Because, you know, in our countries, like your success is always measured in terms of your monetary value. So I would like to be one of the billionaire in my country, so I can do a lot, which I wanted to do. But this was just like a joke apart. I think when I entered this field, like as an entrepreneur, so I see that I usually tend to hear this sentence very common, that women do not support women. And somehow I felt this thing that I don't know why, but it's to some extent it's true. Because usually the females like to work as isolators. However, the males colleagues always work to, always like to work as a group. So I think what I perceive for my next 5 to 10 years, I would be one of the supporter for, forming some women supporting group. And I would be, making at least 100 women over the next 5 years and helping them, mentoring them, even financing them to start their own businesses. Because like we have only 1% of the women entrepreneurs in Pakistan. So I really want to do this. And I don't know I will be successful in achieving this or not, but at least I would like to, take this tag away from our heads, like we do not support other women. So one, I would like, I tend to see myself down the line there. And then we are working on multiple projects. So I think that one of the, you can say pioneer female-led pharmacy, CRO, female-led pharmacy CRO. So I would like to bring in more clinical trials because if I mention in Southeast Asian region, like India and Pakistan, they have a very diverse population groups. So that's a very, ideal countries to run the trials for so many new drugs for, treating different medicines. So I would like to bring in more collaborators and more partners to conduct their clinical trials in Pakistan so we can benefit a large population globally for launching new medicines. Then, as I already said that, I have already launched 59 organic skincare and wellness products. So I would like to achieve my goal of doing this century, like 100 products. So probably I plan to do that. And then one of another goal is I've already mentioned that I've been working with Europol for developing health data assets. So probably I would be excelling more in universal health coverage and health technology assessment. And I think I would be among the think tank or that group working for these things in Pakistan. And last but not the least, I think I would be like, maybe mentoring or, just giving some positive TED talks to so many people who are so frustrated from their lives that they would like to, give up on everything. Because I think that's also very important. We all need a cushion or an ear who can listen to us at times, no matter how empowered we are, no matter how successful we are. So I would like to start something, like that, because I'm already working on mental health and eating disorder with International Eating Academy of International Eating Disorder, and we have launched our first Eating Disorder Association of Pakistan in the whole Southeast Asian region. So probably I will be doing, so many different projects with that association, making people more happy and adding, improving their quality of life. So that's how where I see, and in the end, maybe I would like to be a more good human being at the end of 10 years.
You have a long to-do list, but I can sense that they will all be ticked, and thanks for being so wholeheartedly thinking about your next 5 to 10 years, and also giving your privileges to those who may want to become like you. And for those who are watching this, please reach out to Madeeha. She's waiting for you. She has a dream to come. So that's a great opportunity. So Aska, what about you?
Sure. I mean, wow, Madeeha, I'm really impressed, and with Ana and Farah, like seriously, congratulations and all the very best. And I really, look forward to seeing your dreams coming true, because I feel like that in itself would be a huge inspiration to the rest of us to, kind of follow our dreams and our visions for ourselves, and, maybe push ourselves to dream a little bigger the next time, somebody ever asks that question. But yeah, I think for me, the next 5 years is really to, take my consulting firm international. And one of the things we're trying to currently, a new arm that we're looking at is sustainability in healthcare. We don't talk about this enough, but the healthcare does have a cost when it comes to climate change. And how are we addressing that as an industry, and what are we doing to address that? And there are solutions already that are available, but there is no appetite, just because there's no motivation, and also the burnout. So we're hoping to become the leaders to present those solutions, and to work with organizations to help them implement those solutions, become their additional hands that they would need to implement them, so that we can work towards not just one SDG, but we can work with multiple SDGs at the same time. I think there's a lot of growing crises, there are a lot of fires that need to be put out in the world right now, obviously, but understanding that we are hoping that we will become one of those advisory services that would be willing to work with organizations if there's an appetite for that. And we're hoping to go international in the next 5 years. But I think after 10 years, I'm really seeing myself kind of switch gears and kind of focus more of my work on the not-for-profit side. And really that's just to, kind of give back my time and my privileges, as you mentioned, Nilhan, to causes that I truly believe in, accessible healthcare, making sure that we are creating a system that's equitable, that's fair and accessible. Because right now, regardless if you're in a developing country or a developed country, there are a lot of gaps. And unfortunately, those gaps are getting wider and wider. And it's like, how do we bridge those gaps? And I feel, I hope that, 10 years from now, I'll be in a position with varied experiences and exposures that I would have a more, I guess, good enough understanding to at least help implement some changes. And that's what I'm hoping for, is to really, work towards community building, work towards, human building, because I feel like relationships are at all-time low as well. Like, we need to do better in terms of connecting to each other. And I really do hope that, these kind of conversations stay alive, because as Madeeha, Ana, Farah mentioned, like, we need to talk so that we can share what's not working, and we can meet like-minded women, men, whoever it is, like, human beings, like we meet them, because I think we really do need that community. We need to reestablish that community so that we can it takes a village to grow a child. So just imagine what it would require for us to address all these global crises that we have. It will take the entire world to work together. So that's what I'm hoping to to create 10 years from now is to, you know, hopefully create a world that's more united. You know, there's place for kindness in that world as well. And we just celebrated World Kindness Day just yesterday. So I'm hoping that, you know, it will be a more kinder world that I would like to leave behind as a legacy.
Thank you, Aska. Just hearing about your next 5 to 10 years, you are all socially accountable woman that has some dreams, and all of you mentioned human patience, being kind, care. You're all caring individuals. So really brings me hope for our future. We are going through difficult times as humanity, I think, or as a planet, I think, not just as humans, but animals, our environment. So we have to be socially accountable because our eyes are opened somehow and we cannot shut them back. So let's do whatever we can. And your stories are giving me hope, and I'm sure it will give hope to everybody. So I have one final question, and the final question is, we've talked so much throughout this conversation about the future Madeeha's, future Farah's, future Aska's, future Ana's. I'm sure there's so many out there who wants to become like you, who wants to be in your position, wants to learn from you. So you all have shared some of the advice, but I would like to capture one advice from all of you that you can offer to pharmacy and pharmaceutical students who'd like to follow your career steps and become rising stars. Because one of the objectives of FIPWiSE is also to encourage students, even high school students, to study pharmacy, pharmaceutical sciences, or become educators and scientists. So we need more in this field. So your advice would be golden to them. So I'll start with Ana now. I also noted that you have engaged in a STEM project to encourage young students about career opportunities in STEM. So that's really exciting and interesting. So just I wanted to emphasize that. What would be your advice?
Yeah, thank you so much. Not sure if it's a one, but I guess my main message, first of all, to young pharmacists, is to don't forget that we are core healthcare professionals, that our profession is very special, unique, it's fulfilling, it's very important. We educate patients, we improve the quality of their lives, we consequently save lives. We are experts on medicines, and sometimes we tend to forget how important our role is. I want everyone, every colleague of mine, every new colleague, or everyone, every pharmacist to be proud to stand up and say, I'm a pharmacist, and always do their best, having the benefit of your patients in the center of everything you do. So I think that we pharmacists sometimes forget our voice and the importance of our role. And I really want to emphasize that. Second thing is this would be an advice that there's so many career options with our degree, and for everyone to not get stuck in a position if they're not enjoying it, if they don't feel that they are doing their best, as all of us did. We made this, I believe we all made this change because we weren't completely fulfilled with what we were doing. And the advice is, don't be afraid to explore. There are so many options within our career, and to, yeah, don't be afraid to start again, to explore and to search for what suits you best. And the last thing would be to not get discouraged when things are not going your way. Of course, you will get discouraged. Everyone does. It's normal to feel sorry for yourself for some time if things are not going your way or how you imagine them to be. But to pick up yourself and continue. Don't be discouraged, disheartened for too long. I believe it's very important to understand how capable you are, and to if you put your heart and your mind to what you do, you will get there eventually. Maybe it will not be the path that you initially imagined, but you will get to where you have to be. Just one small thing, that we're here talking today mostly about our achievements and focusing on our achievements, less than challenges. But I just want to, there was recently this thing on LinkedIn where people started putting their CVs with all the rejections that they receive. So I just want to make sure that young people know that there were so many rejections in my life. So I have a CV that is full of few pages of beautiful achievements. But if I did the one with the rejections, it would be double or maybe even triple longer. So yeah, that's the main message. Please don't get discouraged. There will be difficult times. Things will not go your way most of the time. But yeah, just knowing who you are, what you want to do, and keeping the benefits of the health of your patients in the center, and yeah, you will eventually get there. Just don't get discouraged.
Thank you, Ana. Very powerful messages from you. And I'll go to Aska now.
Sure. Wow. Ana, I so agree with everything you mentioned, especially about failures. I feel like, you so rightly put it. Oftentimes we focus on successes of others, but we do not necessarily understand or even have an appreciation for the journey of failures that led to that success, right? And it's often not just one failure, it's multiple failures that carve that way for you to, be at the destination that you are at. So I completely agree. Be comfortable with failures. I think failures are what you want in your journey, more so than successes, because that will help you get to know yourself better, get to know where you want to be or what you don't like about your failure, so that you improve yourself. And I think at the end, motto that I live by is be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Really, it's that as healthcare providers, we're trained to be evidence seekers, right? We look for evidence in everything we do. And if we don't have evidence, forget it. I'm not recommending this to my patient at all, right? But at the same time, entrepreneurship and innovation, you are innovating something. You're not going to have that evidence. So how do you become comfortable with that? And it took me a while to be comfortable with that idea that maybe whatever I'm going to work on will not have anything to support that this idea will work or not, but you have to be comfortable with that and you have to embrace that. And I'm not saying, as long as you're within the ethical lines of using your judgment ethically and doing this to the best interest of the world and humanity, I think you will never go wrong in trying to innovate. It's only when you step outside of those ethical lines is where the concerns begin. But I have faith in my profession, my colleagues, and my aspiring colleagues who plan to join the profession, because I know you'll do what's best for the world, for the humanity in general. But don't be afraid to innovate. If you're not seeing something that is working out for you, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to come up with ideas. Don't be afraid to leave something, to start something new. And that can happen, as Ana mentioned, at any point in your life. There is no right age for doing anything. But one thing that I glean on every single time that somebody asks me for advice is take risks sooner rather than later. And this especially is for non-traditional roles. If you are ever, even if you know that this is what you want from your career, just take some time, especially in the early phases of your career, to explore other avenues, just to make sure that what vision you have for yourself is truly what that is. If not, at least you have, still a good enough time to pivot if you need to. That said, there is no wrong age to experiment with anything you want in your life. So feel free, don't hold yourself to boundaries and restraints. Just live your life to the fullest, and whatever makes you happy, do that work.
Thank you, Aska. It was like a fresh breath of air for our minds. Pharmacists traditionally is I don't want to say, sorry, I forgot the word. We always want to have things certain, but entrepreneurship is just the opposite way. So it's a really different crossing of different skills. So Thanks for embodying that and being an example to that. It will inspire many. Of course, the profession comes with its uncertainties, but it's just how it's being done is really generally traditionally reliant on rules and policies. So entrepreneurship takes that to a different level. So thanks for that advice. I will taken that for myself. Thank you.
I'll just add one thing. We're trained to think inside a box. We are not trained to think outside of the box. And I think that's where even our education system needs to do better when we're training healthcare providers is, how do we embrace entrepreneurship and innovation? Because that's a huge missing puzzle. And I think healthcare, the next 20 years needs innovation to do better. So I'm hoping that will reach somebody out there who will be able to make that change.
Thank you. I just observed that everybody has innovation in their 5 to 10 years plans. So that is really, really encouraging and exciting. Farah, when I was reading your bio, I also seen that you've been the chair, you have been or you are the chair of the next 10 Women in Pharmacy Leadership Campaign. So I think you have some goals, and there could be some really good advice you can give to future Farahs. What would you like to say?
Thank you, Nilhan. So I think it's important to recognize that we have a profession where healing, so to speak, and risen to top roles. And so it's important to recognize, especially for me, that you've got professionally and personally the type of mentorship that you need in order to help advance. So my guidance and advice for students and future FIP Rising Stars is, balance work and life. And that means different things to different people. So, for example, for me early on in my career, I could change, a lot of different roles. Don't be afraid to pursue non-traditional opportunities, as has been a theme that's been shared by everyone today, because those non-traditional opportunities can really help advance your career. And at the end of the day, it could be something that you change and pivot. So don't be afraid of that. I think sustaining mentorship is very important. I mentioned that earlier. A mentor nominated me for this. I look forward to nominating mentees for this in the future. And even when I was looking at this job opportunity, at first when I read the job description, I was like, oh, this isn't describing me. It's not for me. It's that voice, my voice, that was telling me that this wasn't for me. And I had a mentor that said, yeah, it's you. It's you. You should apply to this. And so mentorship is so important to have. So I strongly, I think it's important in order to sustain it, keep those relationships alive, schedule time so you can sustain those relationships, at connecting at conferences and more. So at the end of the day, it's be adaptable when it comes to change. Don't be afraid to pursue non-traditional opportunities and, say yes to those opportunities that arise. I think that's my biggest advice for future leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. Thank you so much. So I'll conclude our running questions with Madeeha.
I think, I would have met all these three ladies 5 years back, and that would have saved a lot of my time, and they would have told me to, just do what makes you happy. So, I think a lot have already been highlighted by all my other colleagues. I would just like to add one thing that, I would second Farah in this, that mentorship is very important. You need to select a very good mentor, and then you have to stick to his or her plan. And that's what's important, because at times you really don't know what's coming from your mentors, and you're like, oh my God, is he really in his or her senses? But he or she is, but that's the part of the process of training the mentees. And then one most important thing is that if you have a mentor in your life, then you need to be a mentor in someone else's life too, because you need to leave a legacy behind you of, creating a generation like you or who would be mentoring so many other people. I always believe this thing that we start any task with a commitment, but we end it with hard work and consistency. So most of us start anything with our commitment. We give them, our full time and everything. But along the process, somehow we, forgot, somehow we are not consistent, or we are very, we're not patient for the results or something like that. So I always says that please start with a commitment and wait to end with consistency and hard work. And my last and foremost advice, please leave the table if it's costing your at the cost of your mental peace. Because one of the biggest blessing in life is the mental peace. So if it's not making you happy, if it's costing at your at the sake of your mental peace, please leave that path. It's always good to change is always good. So please be open to that. And one of the most important things which we need to tell others, remove the toxic people and relation from your lives. I don't know why we hang on to those people, why we have to hang on to those relationships, because most of your energy and most of your productivity and time are being wasted when those toxic people or relations are there in your life, and you are wasting that, and just holding on to them. So please leave them, remove all those toxic elements from your life, focus on your future, trust in yourself, and trust me, sky is the limit.
Thank you, Madeeha. Really nice bunch of advice from you, very personal and dear to heart. I'm sure everybody had to find some advice that would apply to them. So thanks for sharing your sincere thoughts and feelings with us. So that was an end to our questions. I know it has taken longer than we initially planned, but I would really want to continue and ask you more questions. But let me close the chat today, and by me thanking all of you for taking the time and sharing your sincere thoughts, feelings, plans. This was a very, very sincere chat, which I enjoyed, and I'm sure all the audience will highly enjoy and find something for them. I was taking some notes for myself, so I consider myself lucky to be listening to this chat as the first person. You're all walking the talk. That's what I observed. You have ambitions, you have purpose in your life, you believe in something, and you're all walking the talk. I think this is a very, very important attitude, character that a leader, a rising star has from my perspective. So thank you for being an inspiration from that aspect. Our FIPWiSE community, FIP community will enjoy watching your career grow and rise. Really looking forward to catching up with you in the next years to see it and checking in how it's going. And to those who will be listening to this chat, I strongly encourage you to apply for the FIPWiSE Rising Stars or suggest your colleagues. You can be the one. And the advice has been given. There are some roadmaps that everybody can take. So thank you very much for opening your heart, sharing your time. This was very valuable. And we look forward to collaborating with you on all of these actions we have discussed and decided today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nilhan.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.